Guys, welcome to a classic action movie review of 1997's Con Air, starring Nicolas Cage, John Malkovich and John Cusack. Directed by Simon West, this is the absolutely bonkers tale of a newly paroled ex-convict and former US Ranger who finds himself on board a prisoner transport plane when the passengers, all of whom are notorious criminals, seize control. Now what follows is 2 hours of absolute seat-of-your-pants carnage that only occasionally takes a breather to deliver a snappy one-liner or some gloriously cringe-inducing attempts at heartfelt emotion. You absolutely would not get away with half the things that happen in this movie these days. So it's also a time capsule of taste in a few ways, but mostly it's just one of the great 90s action movies, so let's take a look. Now, back in 1997, I was going to the cinema every 5 minutes, it seemed like, and this is when summer blockbuster season was cooking, because despite arguments about quality, the slate was stacked with films like this. So Men in Black, The Lost World Jurassic Park, Face Off, Speed 2, Austin Powers, Liar Liar, Air Force One, The Fifth Element and G.I. Jane. Now, those days are long gone, unfortunately. This was the year, incidentally, that a little company called Netflix was launched as a mail-based DVD rental business. But anyway, it brought us gems like Con Air also. And this, amazingly, is the debut movie from British director Simon West, who previously directed the music video for this. And we'll come back to him, but here he assembles one of the action films of the decade as we follow Cameron Poe, a jacked Nicolas Cage, a US Army Ranger who is sentenced to prison after accidentally killing a man in self-defence during a bar fight. And after serving 8 years for manslaughter, Poe is finally granted parole and set to be released. However, his journey home takes an unexpected turn when he is placed on a high-security transport plane, of course carrying some of the most dangerous criminals in the country. Now, Poe, who just wants to be reunited with his wife and daughter, finds himself in a perilous situation when the convicts, led by the ruthless Cyrus the Virus Grissom, chewing a hole through the movie John Malkovich, hijack the plane.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I have the only gun on board. Welcome to Con Air.
And what follows is a thrilling, explosive and sometimes ridiculous series of events as Poe, while trying to keep his head down and avoid trouble, becomes the only person capable of preventing the chaos that unfolds on the plane and saving the day. Now, at the time, and even more so in hindsight, one of the standout features of Con Air is its crazy cast of characters brought to life by about 2 handfuls of talented actors. At the heart of the movie, obviously, we have Cameron Poe, played by Nicolas Cage, and Cage was fresh off a Best Actor Oscar win for Leaving Las Vegas at the time, and he made The Rock, this and Face Off next, and cemented himself as an unlikely but successful action hero.
I said, put the bunny back in the box.
He obviously has the talents to give a surprising emotional depth to the character, but the moment that we catch him doing those handstand push-ups in his cell, you know he won't be needing another Oscar speech ready. And this isn't an entirely subtle performance either, but you do feel his frustration, just wanting to get a quiet life and get back to his wife and daughter. Now, taking a break from a bunch of costume dramas here, John Malkovich's portrayal of Cyrus the Virus Grissom is not only dripping in menace, but also cheese. Malkovich brings his signature intensity to the role of the cold-blooded mastermind behind the whole hijacking. He gets the majority of the juicy dialogue and has carved out a formidable career by playing deranged and unhinged almost better than anyone in Hollywood. Now, the supporting cast here is also a collection of eccentric and larger-than-life characters, all played by notable actors. John Cusack plays the role of US Marshal Vince Larkin, who is tasked with tracking down the hijacked plane. Cusack's performance might just be about the only normal one in the whole movie. The straight man amid the chaos, if you like. There's a scene-stealing Steve Buscemi who plays Garland Green, a Hannibal Lecter-like serial killer. A character who adds a layer of dark comedy to the film with his eerie, deadpan humour. His interaction with a little girl mid-movie seesaws between comedy, outright horror, and then back again. Other notable supporting characters include Ving Rhames as Diamond Dog, Dave Chappelle as Pinball, and Danny Trejo as a serial attacker of women, shall we say. And who can forget Renoli Santiago as the cross-dressing Sally Can't Dance, who I'm quite sure would offend half the world these days. So in here there is a story about redemption and the quest for justice, but mostly you're just here for the over-the-top action and sometimes implausible plot twists. Now, I do always enjoy a reluctant hero, a guy who doesn't want to get involved, but with a family to get home to and his moral compass and dedication to doing the right thing. Can't just stand by, he's just got to do what a man's got to do. He and Malkovich's Cyrus Grissom are like the yin and yang. One guy who can't help but be righteous, and the other one who just wants chaos and destruction. So yeah, Simon West's here marshalling his first big screen production, making sure that Con Air never lets up on the action. The hijacking of the plane, the gunfights, the tense confrontations, and the dramatic and mind-boggling finale all come together. The dialogue here is peppered with witty one-liners and absurd exchanges, and the film's fun factor lies in the ridiculousness of the premise itself. A plane full of dangerous criminals easily hijacking a plane, and Poe managing to sneak around and sabotage the villain's plot, etc. The scene when Cage's character writes a secret message on the body of a baddie before dropping him out of the plane always cracks me up. Now, of course, one of the highlights of Con Air is its musical score by Trevor Rabin and Mark Mancina. This has one of the best electric guitar themes of all time and is up there with Top Gun in terms of awesomeness. I'm less enamoured by Trisha Yearwood's How Do I Live theme song. I'm not sure if that was a hit or not back in the day, but it's not for me. Now, you've got to remember that Con Air is almost 30 years old at this point, and sadly it does have some CGI in it, which even at the time wasn't amazing, but now it does jump out at you a little bit. The Las Vegas finale is ambitious and fair play. I think they did try and do a lot practically, but some of those composite shots look less than great these days. But don't get me wrong, still far better than most modern Netflix action extravaganzas do. Now, I do have a soft spot for 90s action movies, of course, and they go up a notch when they have a lone hero battling against a rogues gallery of villains, and they go up another notch when you set them on a plane. And of course, Con Air will have its fair share of detractors because it's daft and illogical, but for me it's a film that knows exactly what it is. A guilty pleasure. When you see quotes on movie posters that say an action-packed thrill ride, that's what this is. It's not about critical thinking, it's about spectacle. For me, it's a classic of the 90s action genre, up there with The Rock, Speed, Face Off, Hard Target, Bad Boys, etc. Nicolas Cage dipped his toe into the action hero pool in what was the last great decade for action movies, I feel. Western action movies, anyway. I wonder what some of those reviewers back in the late 90s would write about this now, in hindsight. Anyway, I'm a fan, of course. For me, Con Air successfully balances action, humour, and a little bit of heart sprinkled with a side of cheese, no doubt. The cast is outrageous. Nick Cage has a mullet and a southern drawl, and the action is pretty much non-stop and at times running at Looney Tunes levels of silliness. Shame about that theme song though, but hey ho, go check it out.
On any other day that might seem strange.